You spent countless hours in the garage with your dad. Now investing in that old car and working on it with your son reminds you of him. And his legacy lives on. Fund your passion with a low-interest home equity line of credit from Bank of Blue Valley.
Oh my gosh. Last time.
Oh, it's the last time.
Last time. Pinky promise?
If I get one of those sliding chairs, it's not going to be the last time. I'll do whatever you tell me to do, but I mean, I know you don't like me doing it, so I'm not going to.
How are you?
Doing wonderful. How are you doing?
I almost told you to wear a Christmas shirt today.
I did Bank of Blue Valley. I need to get some Burns and McDonnell swag, but I mean, they're just everywhere and anywhere because they are hiring like crazy, and there's a lot of people towards the holidays. They look at transition and they look at Bank of Blue Valley or Burns and McDonnell. Are
you ready for the holidays?
Yeah, no, family's coming in town. Our guest is in a similar stage of life with little ones, but little ones make Christmas phenomenal. What about you? Are you ready for the holidays?
Well, first of all, I can't believe our guest agreed to come on today because I feel like if anyone should be so busy right now this week, it's him, which he did confirm he's very busy. But he's still such a great friend that he came on. Yeah, what's fun with little ones is it's still all the magic, but then you have the teenagers like me where the magic is gone, but all the demands are here. Like we have concerts after concerts, after parties, after things like that I have to take them to all the time. So I feel like it's just so busy right now.
You could be like the coolest mom ever. You're like just driving around the Escalade. You're funny. You're on top of things. Our guest earlier, it's going to be on, said the word herd. I feel like you guys, I get all my Gen Z. There's a lot of Gen Z. You guys both have a lot of Gen Zs that work for you.
Yeah. So we try to be cool. We're just the old people trying to be cool. It's fine. Hey, listen, this is only a 30-minute show today. So I want to make sure we get to our guest. But I do want to talk about, we've already got people over here in the comments. Our guest is super, super popular. So there's going to be a lot of people over here. So let us know who you are. Let us know where you're watching from, Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, and let us know what your 2023 plans are. We're so super excited. This is our last show of the year, but next year we're coming back, I want to say bigger and badder than ever. We got some things up our sleeves, so we're pretty excited. Paul says he's watching for the second time ever, and he is watching on LinkedIn.
Real estate guru.
Mike says he's watching on LinkedIn, finally relaxing after a big couple of weeks. New grandson to enjoy Christmas and Santa with, so congratulations. So everybody get over here in the comments. I don't want to waste too much time. I feel even stupider playing this music because our guest is so cool, but I know you love it. We're going to change it up in 2023. So I'm going to play this absolutely terrible music for right now.
Oh, it's good.
Last time.
Bring it.
All right, here we go. Get ready. All right. Our guest today, you guys already know him. We actually just looked at Google, see how many pages he took up. Right? You guys already know him. You're already excited. That's why so many of you are coming on. Mr. Andy Rieger. What are your feelings on that song? Do you love it?
It's so me.
It's 100%. It's really Scott.
If I played for the Royals, that would definitely have been my walk-up song.
Look, Nick says he loves you some J. Rieger bourbon. And Paul his 2023 plans are to hang out with you a lot.
It's a great plan.
I like it. I want to be invited. All right, sir. Who are you? What do you do? And how do you get to Kansas City?
So my name is Andy Rieger, and I run J. Rieger Co. here in Kansas City. If I was talking to everyone in person, I would ask people to raise their hand and single themselves out if they have never heard of us, never had our product, or never been to our facility. But J. Rieger Co. primarily is a distillery where we make alcohol, but we also have a huge welcome center where we've got 4 different bar restaurant concepts, including outdoor quarter-acre park called Electric Park, basement cocktail bar that's called the Hey Hey Club, the Monogram Lounge, which is a large social lounge on a 2nd floor, and then that overlooks the distillery, and then our tasting room atrium concept. So we like to have a lot of fun. We like to give experiences, whether that be in your own home at a bar or restaurant or in our own facility where we welcome you in. We are 8 years old now. This is our 8th year that we're on, but sort of 130 plus years old, because J. Rieger Co. was founded in 1887 by my triple great grandfather, Jacob Rieger, and then it died with Prohibition. So it sat idle for 95 years, and we restarted it in a different part of the city, but in a historic part of the city. So that's been really fun. But before that, how I got to Kansas City was via Dallas. So before I started J. Rieger & Co. and moved back, I was working in investment banking in Dallas, Texas, and absolutely loved Dallas. Everybody that talks trash on Dallas, shame on you. It's a great city. And if we didn't live in Kansas City, we would probably be living in Dallas still. So wonderful place to be. Glad we moved home, though, born and raised here in Kansas City. So being home is very, very meaningful to me. And getting to resurrect a company that my family really was able to build their lifeblood on for 38 years prior to Prohibition is even that much more meaningful.
I mean, Andy, you and I are practically twins. I lived in Dallas all through my 20s. My business is on the east side. I mean, we're practically twins. I didn't know you used to live in Dallas.
We both have brown hair.
And we both have brown hair. And we both have dogs.
It's amazing. Like,
there we are.
Twins all the way, without a doubt.
Go ahead, Scott.
So my favorite story is learning the history behind everything. But one thing for the audience, I think it'd be really kind of cool. A lot of people may have heard it. Is what is the naming behind Electric Park and the quarter acre outside that is beautiful?
So everything that we do here is intentional in some way, shape, or form, and has some impact from history and bringing history forward. So the origin of Electric Park really goes to back in 1899. An amusement park was opened down literally on our property, and we're on old brewing grounds. And one of the fun things that the brewery, which was called the Heim Brewery, H-E-I-M, the Heim Brewery, actually, by the way, this is Pepper right here.
It's a cut out of the dog.
Yeah.
Pepper's by her feet.
I'll pull her up in a second. She's at my feet right now. But so the Heim Brewery, they were the largest brewery to the west of the Mississippi back in the pre-Prohibition years. And one of the fun things that they did was they actually built Kansas City's very first amusement park. And it didn't look anything like we assume an amusement park looked like. They called it Electric Park because it had a couple thousand light bulbs, a water fountain. They shot off fireworks every single night to signal the park's closing. They had a bandstand, a theater, a beer garden. So the idea of it was more or less social grounds. It was only open in the summer months, obviously, back in those days. So it got so successful, they actually relocated it to 46th and Paseo in 1907 season. And that's the theme park that when they constructed it, they built it much more like what we all view an amusement park to be today, with much larger rides and things that truly we would say that is an amusement park, or we would identify as an amusement park. And that's also the park that a little boy named Walt Disney would frequently sneak into and created some of his inspirational elements. So the idea of fireworks to signal a park's closing or water fountains were things that he fell in love with at that second park, but they actually were origined right here where we're located. So you sort of have to skip forward to when we were doing the big redevelopment. We opened the company in 2014, and then in 2017, I really began the planning for how do we really build this into something else. And as part of building what we had started as just a manufacturer into something even bigger, that was including a big welcome concept, something that brought people to the neighborhood. And I'll never forget, I was in a council member's office who was responsible for the district that we are in. And council member said, "Remind me where this project is going to be." And I said, "The East Bottoms," because that's the general large neighborhood that we are in. And this council person said, "Oh, my spouse and I love the East Bottoms." And I was puzzled. And I said, "It's amazing. What do you love about the East Bottoms?" Because there is not very much to love, or especially back in 2017, there wasn't. And this individual goes, "We just love going to everything in and around Kemper Arena." I said, that is the West Bottoms. And they go, what did you say? I said, the East Bottoms. And they go, what's the East Bottoms? And at that moment, I was like, we're doomed. The council member who is responsible for our own district doesn't know what the East Bottoms is. Thus, this name is terrible, and we cannot use it ever anymore with anybody that doesn't know where we're located, because they're automatically going to assume the West Bottoms. So that being said, I started playing around and really researching the history, which is a big part of not only our company revival, but as part of this project's revival. For those of you that haven't been down, we've got a 4,000 square foot, absolutely awesome and gorgeous historical exhibit. The idea, though, was come up with something that's catchy enough that you can sort of rebrand the neighborhood on. And as I was trying to come up with ideas, I just couldn't get away from the phrase electric park. So I just decided one day in all interviews, just start calling it Electric Park. And so we were located in the historic Electric Park District. And the very first thing that I did with that was I got the Parks Board to change the name of the original park grounds back to Electric Park. So the sign now says Electric Park for those park grounds. So that was a big win, because on the map, then clearly there is a rationale and a home base for where Electric Park was focused. But then as we were really developing out concepts, we always knew we wanted to do an outdoor garden bar, something, and the name that we couldn't get away from was Electric Park. So in October of 21, when we finally got around to opening that quarter acre, we obviously called it Electric Park. And the big first impression lit up sign that you see was actually the font style used in the annual Electric Park summary photo books that they used to sell as souvenirs. So we were able to replicate that, get that made into a 3D sign. And the rationale behind why it looks that way is because, again, just with everything we do, we are reviving history for the modern taste.
Okay, first of all, I hadn't heard that story. That's really cool. I do have a quick question. What was the second park called?
It was called Electric Park.
When it moved, you said they called it something. It was still called Electric Park?
Yep, because they shut down the original and reopened a new one. One of the interesting things about the second park compared to the first park is, keep in mind, it was a family that owned the largest brewery to the west of the Mississippi. So big focus as to why they created the initial Electric Park was to sell more beer. And they obviously were very, very successful with it being right next door to the brewery. They had pipes directly underground right to the beer garden. And so people would just drink really, really fresh beer. Well, at the second park, by the time they got done with everything, the city would not grant them a liquor license. And so it was a dry amusement park.
Oh my goodness. That's crazy. Janae says she loves all of the ties to local history. Oh, why did it? I wonder why. Is that because it was dry? Is that why it ended up closing down? I wonder.
No. It actually, in 1925, it burned down. And Walter Cronkite always cited how he was there as a little boy that day and watched it burn.
Oh, that's crazy.
Same Joe guy, but in your distillery, you have the cocktails that are piped directly to make the freshest drinks in Kansas City. And I always love it when you say, I want a place where 25-year-olds and 75-year-olds can enjoy $10 cocktails. And every time I walk out of there, there's the 25-year-olds and there's the 75-year-olds. I'm like, it's just real and living. And it's very cool. As you are going into the holiday season, which we're in full-fledged, your place is rocking and busy, and thank you so much for taking time to do this. Is there anything unexpected in a great way that you've experienced at your facility or in business this holiday season?
One of the things that we've focused on a lot was we kind of went all in on really big hospitality for the welcome space. And what I mean by that is we can host up to 1,200 person parties here. And the only other place you can host, anywhere upwards of greater than 500 people are typically hotel ballrooms. So being that there is now that secondary option to really large company functions or corporate functions or conventions or whatever that may be, where there's a lot of people needed to be in attendance, we're kind of that only other option. And again, it takes a lot to just build something that's fun at that size. There's not very much. And so what we've started to see, COVID kind of disrupted, it totally disrupted everything and all the momentum that we had built from opening up in the second half of 2019. But us being able to actually start considering the idea that people are catching on. And what I mean by that is we're in a neighborhood where you typically don't go. And so 100% of the people that walk in our door intended that day to walk in our door. They were not intending to go to an area, and they just said, well, sure, I'll go here. That's something I'll do. So we have to earn every single footstep of someone within our premise. We had a private event here 2 weeks ago. And last year, it was a company, 900 person private event. They had a few complaints. They booked again. This year, during the event, they had some complaints for our staff. We were certain it was done. After they talked to their employees, within a week, they rebooked for next year. And so you start to see some of those trends where companies are marking their territory more or less of, we know where to have the most fun in the entire city. That's something that we want to lock up so that our employees get that experience over other companies. And it becomes almost a fight for who gets what nights for being able to entertain their staff.
Okay.
That's been fun.
I think the thing that's really interesting on that is you said they had some complaints, but they still booked. So that's, I think, a lot of times in business, the hard piece for especially newer business owners, to hear the complaints and react accordingly and correctly and keep the business. So what's kind of the secret that you're able to bring that in, make the changes, fix the loopholes, and keep the business? How do you think that you learn that, and kind of what's the secret to your success in that?
I mean, I think that everything is all just about, I'm very, very large on not burning bridges. Mm-hmm. And a lot of times my staff hates it because they'll just say that I'm so tight that no attorney could ever get something bad out of whatever words I put in an email or a text message. And it's always just so neutral of comments that you answer what someone is asking for. Even if you are so angry at that person, you never let that show. Because you never know when you need someone else. No matter what the company is, what they do in this particular instance, you never know when you're going to need to call on somebody, when that person is going to show up, when that person and you're in the emergency room is your doctor. And so often we're so short-sighted in society with how we treat people that I don't have time for you, so piss off. And it's just such a rude approach that you can guarantee that whenever you react that way, which people do that all the time to others, no matter whether it's, it's typically someone that's way below wherever you are in an organization, whether it be professional or outside of work, the way people treat a bartender, the way people treat a busboy in a restaurant. You can tell a lot about a person along those lines. And so it's just all about being a really good person because, again, you never know when that karma comes back. And I'm a firm believer in karma. One of the best stories that I always have from COVID that sort of falls along those lines was we did hand sanitizer in COVID in a really big way. And we made about 500,000 liters of it for distribution. So as a part of that, though, we got to see the positives and negatives of society and who everybody was during that era. And I call it that era because it's just an awful time period, especially those first 2 months or so. But I'll never forget a specific day where it was our second big day of public sales for the hand sanitizer. And I got to the facility at 7 a.m. and there were already 2 cars in line. And it was well known publicly that we were not going to begin until 11 a.m. And these 2 cars wanted to ensure that they got it. So as soon as I walked in, I walked outside and I just asked both cars, hey, what brings you here today? And first car was a really nice Mercedes-Benz. And the guy just said, I'm here to get a bottle of hand sanitizer. Want to help you guys out. Saw this on the news. It's really cool what you guys are doing for the community. Thank you. I'll be back in a second. I'm going to take care of you so you don't have to wait. And the next car in line was a really beat up 30-year-old car. And the couple in there, you could tell they were very impoverished. And the gentleman says to me, my mom lives with us. We can't find shampoo. We can't find soap. We can't find hand sanitizer. My mom is 86 years old. She's frail. She's not very healthy. We're devastated and we're afraid that, this is going to be the end of her. And I said, I got you as well. I go inside, come out with jugs of hand sanitizer, and car number 1 went to first. I said, how many do you want? And he said, I just want 1. But he said, here's a $100 bill. Use this for somebody that needs it. And so I immediately went to the next car and I said, hey, look, I've got 3 jugs for you. And we were doing a limit of 2 at that time. I go, that guy up there, that guy made sure you got this for free. And they just broke out into complete tears. And so you saw that side of society, which was so cool for how people can help and make an impact. But that was that karma that gentleman created for himself with that comment that he made. Same thing goes a few hours later when we were open for public sales. It was about a 4-hour long line in order for people to get through. We had 16 cops, streets were closed, police helicopter was flying around. And one gentleman, once he finally got to the front of the line in his car, started cussing our staff out about how long he had to wait in line. And my wife was out there at the time, and she just goes, "Get the fuck out. Leave. We're not giving you any hand sanitizer. You've lost the opportunity." And then he starts cussing my wife out. And she goes, "The way you're behaving right now is exactly why you're not getting anything from us, because we don't want you around. We don't want you to have our products, and we don't want to make sure that you're doing well. You don't deserve it." And so the guy literally, it was one of those things that our staff was like, "Oh my God, Lucy Rieger just kicked the shit out of that guy and kicked him out of the line in order to support us as the staff." But it was one of those small instances in which you just need to treat people with respect in general, because you never know who the heck you're talking to. And unfortunately for that guy, he was talking to the wrong person.
Right.
And my wife obviously had the authority to say, "Yeah, no, you're gone. Get out." So anyway, that's a big thing that I always try to live by, is that karma, I feel, is very, very real. And if you're very rude to people in general, you're probably going to struggle in life.
Well, you also helped out some other folks. Aaron, I apologize, but Andy also helped out some other local entrepreneurs by lending an olive branch to allow them to sell his products so that they could support their businesses, which greatly helped them out. And they now continue to prosper today. But during that time when cash flow is so important as a young business, Andy helped do that. So Aaron, I apologize for interrupting you.
Oh, no, you're good. You're good. I was going to say, it's just kind of funny. I had to go down to our office the first day you guys started. I don't know if I ever told you this. The first day you guys started selling hand sanitizer. And at the time, Andy, you and I were in a CEO group together. And I thought, well, I'm going to run by and grab some. I really want to support Andy. And I got down there and the cops wouldn't even let you get close because you guys were sold out that first day. And I was like, I think he's doing okay. Right. But I was like, I'm going to go over there and see how he's doing. We'll buy some of this hand sanitizer. I didn't realize how popular it was going to be. And then you guys just blew up. But that's awesome to hear that there were people there at 7 a.m. I wasn't there at 7 a.m. That's why I didn't see you. So that's
dedication.
I wanted to show you, so you were just talking about people fighting over the days. I know Rajane, she does a ton of events, and she says Kids TLC was also a recipient of the hand sanitizer. Such a blessing for our campus. And right before that, she said, we have had great success hosting our large fundraisers over at J. Rieger. And then Janae said, nice job in creating an experience for your customers at the venue, but also giving the company an experience in customer service after the event where they had feedback. And now you keep booking the business again. So I think people are really impressed with that. All right, Scott, you can have your turn back.
The one thing about the product side, and I hate asking you about products because everyone asks you about products, but has there been something that is exciting for you of what you're coming out with, or something that has sold really well throughout the holidays? Or is this kind of like you already planned it 6 months ago, so it's already happening, but is there anything exciting for the casual observer of what's going on with Rieger Distillery?
Well, my wife says her least favorite trait of mine is I refuse champagne moments. And so part of that is because when we're also involved in our business lives, everything is just completing a task, but you're not waiting to start the next thing until the previous thing is completed. You're working on things 10 steps down the road. It's just how much attention you're dedicating to them until they're completed. And so one of the things that we really started the entire business on was quality. And I don't say that lightly, because we made a really, really concerted effort with talking to investors up front from the very, very beginning on ensuring that we had the right group of people that understood what the vision was, which was, if we can make whiskey the right way as one of our product sets. Because when we started out, we had the former head of Tanqueray on the team. We had the former head of Maker's Mark on the team. So we had the opportunity on 2 product sets to do really, really well by knowing that the product's quality was going to be of the utmost importance and something that no one can really dog the quality. It would just be up to us with the branding for being able to sell it. But one of the things with whiskey is you can either sell young whiskey and convert your whiskey barrels to cash faster, but it kind of hurts your brand in the long run because you're putting out a very subpar product. Or can you get a group of investors that are willing to let you make a lot of whiskey and let it age for an extended period of time and continue to tie up cash into the future? And then someday, whenever you feel you have a critical mass of inventory that's aged, you can begin selling it. And so that time is going to approach for us in 2024. And so for us, that is something that we basically from the very beginning had been planning on over a decade ahead of time. And we're finally to the point now where 2024 we'll begin releasing consistently bourbons and ryes that are things that we know are core products for America that are much easier sells than everything that we are doing right now. And so our job at this time is just try to ensure that when 2024 rolls around, we've done as much setup for ourselves so that the sales of those products is as well received as humanly possible. Because again, we know that the product quality is going to absolutely be there, and it's something that we're excited about.
Selfish question. What about the 6-year that came out that was 100%?
Yeah.
I mean, holy moly. Was that just a limited time thing?
No, we're releasing 6 years, but we're releasing them in limited quantities. And
okay. So I get what you're saying.
So once those are sold out, we're only doing a couple thousand cases of those with each release. And those are like those teasers. So that people are like, I can't wait for this to be a full-time thing.
It's working on you.
Exactly. So eventually we will have it to where those are not limited time things. But once you allow it to not be a limited time thing, you have to ensure you have the inventory to back up the program, or else if it's always sold out at that point in time, then people can't rely on it. Whereas right now, people buy it because they know it's a limited time thing, because they know they're not going to be able to get it in December. But look at a bar, for example. If a bar wanted to put a bourbon cocktail on the menu when it was released back in April, well, by May 1st, they wouldn't be able to buy more bourbon to pour for that cocktail menu.
Got it.
So you have to kind of define what the product is going to be at that moment so that your customers are being treated the right way, so that hopefully in that specific scenario, a bartender that wanted to use it in a cocktail can't wait to use it once it becomes unlimited.
Okay, so we've got like 3 minutes left, and I wanted to ask you this because I know what I think my answer is for you, and I always have thought this, but you just proved it more today. What do you think your superpower is as the CEO?
Nothing. No, one of the I do a lot of I'm always described as like a servant leadership style, and I sort of believe that that's the best one, but the best format of leadership, excuse me. But I really believe that, and a lot of times it's both the best trait and the worst trait. My entire staff recognizes there's only been one instance in which I took over full dominant decision-making power, and that was at the onset of COVID. And we were able to successfully pivot the entire operation, the entire company, to make the hand sanitizer, which really went a long way in the community. Not for Rieger Co just as a brand, but I mean, a quarter of the hospitals were using it, most of the fire stations, police stations, construction sites. And so really being able to keep things moving forward. But we never fired a single employee. And that was sort of a time period in which you didn't have the opportunity to really have delegating that occurred beyond, this is the way I know it has to be done, go do it that way. And every single person bought in at that moment because they knew that's what was best for everybody involved. But nowadays, I really like to let our team, and I have 6 direct reports, and allowing those individuals to all write their own path. They all know and understand the things that I find important at a higher level. And as we've been going and getting out of COVID, they're all understanding how to operate and run their specific groups that they are in charge of. And they understand what the ultimate goal is with me, and then how they get there are the nuanced details that sometimes I don't care beyond a random question. A simple one, for example, is I don't have weekly reporting where my director of operations reports cost of goods sold for our cocktail program. But he does share with me the revenue at each revenue center by day, so that I can see where we need to get marketing involved to promote different spaces to get more bodies in. And so only if I start to see a trend of a lack of profitability on that will I start to inquire about cost of goods. But he knows the question could exist in the future. So the blessing and the curse, to answer the question fully, is I let everybody have as much runway as they possibly want out of respect. But sometimes they wish that I was a little bit more involved and in really guiding them to tell them how to drive down the runway.
I think your superpower is marketing, and you don't give yourself enough credit on how you've been able to work your programs and your name into so much of the Kansas City history. So if you want my opinion, I think it's marketing.
Thank you.
And I'm kind of an expert in that space. Okay, we got a couple last things here. I just want to make sure you see these. Will says the process of distilling whiskey by planning so far ahead has so much relevance for other industries. So he likes your thinking. And Janae said she got some of that hand sanitizer all the way in central Kansas and made it to the Great Plains. Andy, we cannot thank you enough for coming on here. We really, really appreciate it. We know how busy you are.
Come on, Pepper.
Pull them up, Pepper. Thank you, Pepper, for coming on. Thank you so much to Bank of Blue Valley and Burns and McDonnell for allowing us to do this show. And I'm going to say my favorite joke of the year. You ready, Scott?
Yes.
We will see you next year.
That's right.
Bye, guys.
Thanks for having me.